These aren't bedtime stories. Tonight, you'll hear three real night shift tales. Workers alone in the dark. A trucker's midnight drive that turned into something he'll never forget. And a guard who saw something no human should. Stay till the end, because the last story is the one that will haunt you.
I used to rent a small one-bedroom apartment when I first moved to Chicago for work. It wasn't fancy, just a typical old building with creaky floors, thin walls, and an ancient heating system that clanked in the winter. I lived alone, worked long hours, and usually came home late at night. Nothing unusual until the noises started. At first I thought it was the neighbors. I'd hear faint scratching above my ceiling, like someone dragging their nails along the vents. Then came the whispers. It was so soft I couldn't make out words, but it was clear enough that I knew it wasn't just the pipes. It sounded human. One night, I was sitting on the couch eating takeout when I heard something that froze me. Laughter. A man's laugh, muffled, coming directly from the air vent. I jumped up, turned off the TV, and listened. Silence. I told myself I was overtired and brushed it off. A week later, I woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of heavy breathing coming from the vent above my bed. This time I was wide awake, staring straight at it, and the breathing didn't stop for nearly a full minute. I called my landlord the next morning, demanding he check the system. He swore no one could fit in the ducts, and it was just the building settling. I tried to believe him, but deep down, I knew he was wrong. The last night I stayed there, I came home late from work, unlocked my door, and immediately noticed something off. My bedroom window, facing the fire escape, was wide open. I never left it unlocked. I froze, too scared to move, and that's when I saw it. On the dusty floor beneath the vent, there were smudged footprints leading from the window straight to the wall. I didn't sleep that night.
Moving to our second story. I've been a long-haul trucker for almost 15 years. Seen a lot of weird stuff at night. Deer standing in the road, drunk drivers, even a guy walking barefoot down I-80 in the middle of a snowstorm. But one night in Nevada, I swear, something followed me that wasn't human. It was about 2 a.m. I was hauling refrigerated produce, running on black coffee and gas station jerky. The highway was dead. No lights, no towns for miles, just desert on both sides. My CB was silent, and I hadn't seen another rig in at least half an hour. That's when I noticed it. In my side mirror, way back in the dark, there were two tiny lights. Headlights, I figured, but they weren't spaced like headlights. They were closer together, almost like eyes. At first, I thought I was just tired, but the longer I drove, the more I realized they were keeping pace with me. Every time I sped up, they sped up. When I slowed down for a curve, they slowed down too. Now, here's where it got really strange. There was no engine sound. If another truck was that close behind me on an empty highway, I'd hear the hum, the tires on the asphalt, but it was dead silent. About 20 minutes later, I reached a rest area. It was lit with one flickering lamp, the kind of place you only stop if you're desperate. I figured I'd pull in, grab a smoke, and see if this car would pass me by. As I slowed down, those lights vanished, just blinked out like someone flipped a switch. My heart was pounding. I parked, stepped out of the cab, and lit a cigarette. The desert was silent, too silent. No bugs, no wind, nothing. Just the buzzing of that broken light overhead. And then I heard it. From the far end of the rest stop, behind the dumpsters, came the sound of scraping metal. Slow, dragging, like something pulling chains across concrete. I froze. The hair on my arms stood up. I told myself, "Get back in the truck. Get back in the damn truck." I flicked my cigarette and climbed in fast. But before I could start the engine, I saw movement in my side mirror. Tall, lanky, pale, whatever it was standing just outside the glow of the lamp. Too tall to be a man, but shaped like one. And its eyes? God, its eyes glowed like those lights I saw on the road. I slammed the rig into gear and tore out of there, tires squealing. For miles, I didn't dare look in the mirror. When I finally got the guts, I glanced back. Nothing. Just empty highway. But here's the part that makes me question everything. When I pulled into a truck stop outside Reno to fuel up, the attendant looked at me funny. He said, "Rough night, huh?" I laughed nervously and said, "Why?" He pointed at the back of my trailer. There were long, deep scratches carved into the metal, parallel, like claw marks. I've never taken that route at night again. Now, moving to our last story. I was 26 when I got hired as a night security guard at a county hospital in Ohio. It wasn't glamorous, just patrolling the halls, checking empty wings, and making sure nobody wandered where they shouldn't. I took the night shift because it paid better, and I figured, how hard could it be? Just walk around a mostly empty hospital while everyone else sleeps. I thought the scariest thing I'd face would be a junkie sneaking in. I was wrong. The first signs. My shift started at 11 p.m. and ended at 7 a.m. The hospital was old, built in the 1950s, with wings that had been shut down but never demolished. Dim lights, peeling paint, and long, echoing hallways. The nurses were friendly, but they always told me the same thing. If you have to check the east wing, don't linger. I thought they were just messing with the new guy, but the first time I had to patrol that wing, I'd understood. It was silent. Too silent. Every other part of the hospital had some sound, machines beeping, distant chatter, rolling carts, but the east wing was dead. The air felt heavy, like it hadn't been breathed in for years. As I walked, I kept catching glimpses out of the corner of my eye, a shadow darting into a room, a door slightly swinging shut. Every time I turned my flashlight, nothing. That first night, I wrote it off as being tired, but it kept happening.
The Man in the Gown. About 3 weeks in, around 3:30 a.m., I was doing rounds near the closed psych ward when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, shuffling. I spun around. At the far end of the hall stood a man in a faded hospital gown. He looked wrong. His skin was grayish, his head tilted like his neck was broken, and he didn't blink. "Sir?" I called out. "You can't be here." No response. He just stared. I started walking toward him, hand on my radio. "Security to East Wing. I've got a trespasser." Static. The radio crackled, but no one answered. When I looked back, he was gone. I checked every room, every hall. Empty. When I mentioned it to the nurses, one of them gave me this look and said quietly, "Room 214. That's where he hanged himself. You probably saw him." She said it so matter-of-fact, like it was no big deal. I laughed it off, but inside, I was shaken.
The elevator ride. 1 month in, I was patrolling the basement. The morgue was down there, along with storage rooms. Creepiest part of the job, hands down. I was about to take the elevator back up when the doors slid open on their own. Nobody inside. The panel lit up, second floor, then third, then fourth, then back down to one. The elevator was moving like someone was riding it, but I could see clear as day, it was empty. Finally, it stopped, doors wide open, waiting for me. I didn't get in. I took the stairs. The voices. By month 2, the activity ramped up. I'd be doing rounds and hear voices in empty rooms. A woman crying softly. A man whispering angrily. Once I heard a child laughing. But every time I checked, nothing. The worst was one night when I sat in the security office watching the cameras. The East Wing feed was fuzzy, but I saw movement. A figure walking down the hall. I zoomed in. It was me. Same uniform, same flashlight, walking slowly, head down. But I was sitting in the office. I leaned closer to the monitor, heart racing. And that's when the figure stopped, turned, and looked straight at the camera. Straight at me. The feed went black.
The night I quit. It all came to a head about 6 months in. I was making my rounds on the 3rd floor. Most of the lights were dimmed for the night. As I passed room 317, I heard breathing, heavy, raspy, like someone struggling. The room was supposed to be empty. I opened the door. The bed was made, perfectly neat, but the sound got louder, coming from the corner. When I shined my flashlight, my stomach dropped. There was a figure crouched in the corner, thin, twisted, with its head cocked at an unnatural angle. It was wearing a hospital gown stained dark down the front. Its chest rose and fell with every ragged breath. And then it smiled. The kind of smile that's too wide, too sharp. I stumbled back, slammed the door, and ran. I don't even remember making it down the stairs. When I reached the main desk, I was pale and shaking. The nurse on duty didn't even look surprised. She just said, "Room 317's been empty since 1998. That was it. I quit the next morning. Never went back. So, our story's come to its end. If you made it this far, you are braver than most. But tell me, would you survive a night shift like this? Share your thoughts below, because I want to know. And if you want more stories that keep you awake long after the lights go out, hit subscribe, and I'll bring you more nightmares soon. Until then, sleep tight, if you can.